Hello and welcome to my new YouTube channel. My name's Ken and I'm a stroke victim, and this series of videos is going to be about my stroke, my rehabilitation and hopefully full recovery. I posted a little video yesterday from hospital, and this is the first proper video log video about my stroke and what I'm doing to recover from it. So I'm going to keep this video quite short and just tell you a little bit about the history of my stroke. So I'm 60 years old and I've been very lucky. I had a minor stroke, and I really, never occurred to me that I was a candidate for a stroke. Although I did have a friend who, towards the end of last year, 2019, unfortunately died from a stroke. I think he had a stroke and then had a second one when he was in hospital. I don't know the full details. He wasn't a close friend, but it was somebody I knew fairly well, and it was a big shock. And he's 2 years younger than me and in the same sort of line of work. So that did kind of sort of wake me up a little bit to just how fragile our hold on life is, but it never occurred to me that I would have a stroke. And I didn't really notice it when it happened because it was a minor stroke. So one morning I was been working on my laptop using a touchpad, and I found it increasingly difficult to control the cursor and to tap the pad to do things. So I kind of put it down to the fact that I'd injured my arm doing some work in the garden, because I've been doing all sorts of projects in the garden whilst we've had this pandemic lockdown. And I went out into the garden and carried on doing stuff. I did mention briefly to my wife that I couldn't control the touchpad and it was frustrating, and we both kind of just brushed it off. But the next morning I had to do some things with the computer again, and I really found it impossible to control the pad, and I found it incredibly difficult to cut up the pet food for our cats that morning as well. And I thought that, no, something's not right here. And my wife thought that maybe I'd been growing this beard through the lockdown, but my wife looked at me again and thought, well, maybe your face is a little bit different. And so I called a GP. The GP did some tests and referred me on to the stroke ward at the hospital. Excuse me, my phone bleating away there in the background. That's not very professional. But anyway, I ended up going to the hospital the next morning. I saw the GP in the afternoon on a Thursday and went to the hospital on Friday, and they did some tests and I was admitted and put through a whole bunch more tests, and I'll go into a bit more detail about those in another video. But CT scan, an MRI scan, ultrasound scans on the blood vessels in my neck and also my arm as well, and yeah, I was properly checked out and diagnosed to have had a small stroke, and I'll talk about the brain region and the size of the stroke in some upcoming videos a little bit. So the reason for making these videos and this little log is partly just to record my own progress for my own benefit. It might help me to look back a couple of weeks and see that I have improved if I'm not noticing any improvement. Hopefully, maybe for other people who are in a similar position to me, might see this video on YouTube and these videos and get some benefit from it, and maybe just a little bit as a warning to folk who maybe don't think they're at any risk of a stroke, or that if you notice something like I did, that you can't do something that normally would be really, really simple. Yeah, maybe you've had a stroke and maybe you should get checked out. I think calling the GP was the best decision I've ever made, and I was a day late in doing it. Maybe if I got attention a day earlier, perhaps my symptoms, mild as they are, would be even less serious. So that's the reason for this channel. I'll keep this video short, and some upcoming videos I'll also try and keep them to sort of 10 or 15 minutes if I can do. Just going through what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis, and how I'm progressing, and a little bit talk about stroke. Also whether the COVID-19, the SARS-CoV-2 virus actually had anything to do with it. It's a possibility it did. It does seem that it causes strokes. Although I think that's in patients who are quite severely ill, and I've had no obvious illness, but it may be that I did see one paper that people who'd been asymptomatic, relatively young people under 50, presented with strokes, turned out to be positive. All turned out to be positive for the virus, and so the question, is there a causal link there or not? So we'll talk about that and a few other things over the coming weeks, and hopefully people will find it interesting, and if not, at least I've got that record for myself. So thanks very much for watching, and hope to see you in the next video.